In Benue State, where the land is green and fertile and the rivers speak softly to the soil, there is a forest that does not appear on any map. The Tiv people who live near it do not call it by one name. Some call it Eondokpina, God's shadow. Others call it the forest that eats names. Elders warn children never to mention it after sunset. Hunters pour libation before passing its outer trees, even if they have no intention of entering. And when someone disappears, people do not ask where, they ask who the forest took. The forest lies somewhere between Kotsinala and Oshongo, beyond farmlands where yam mounds rise like graves. It begins subtly. The air cools. The birds go quiet. The wind slows, as though listening, and then the trees begin to breathe. On the night the forest decided to wake fully, Teva Oshahemba was returning from Makodi. He was a teacher, young, skeptical, educated in the city. He did not believe in curses or spirits or forests that remembered your sins. He believed in logic, in tired roads and broken vehicles, in the way darkness could play tricks on the mind. The bus broke down at 11:47 p.m. It coughed once, shuddered, and died in the middle of the road. The driver cursed. Passengers groaned. Phones came out, flashlights bobbing like fireflies. There was no network. No nearby village lights. Only bush on both sides of the road, thick, black, endless. That was when Tava smelled it, not rot. Not leaves. Blood and rain-soaked earth. Where are we? A woman asked. The driver hesitated too long. Near Tseakpa, he said finally. An old man in the back hissed sharply. Tseakpa is close to that place. No one asked what place. The forest stood to the left of the road, its trees tall and crooked, their branches twisted like broken fingers clawing at the sky. Teva felt an inexplicable pressure in his ears, like being underwater. Then he heard it, a sound like slow breathing, in, out. The leaves trembled in rhythm. The forest was alive. They decided to wait. The driver claimed he would flag down another vehicle. But none came. Time stretched. The night deepened. The forest watched. At 1:13 a.m., a scream tore through the darkness. A young boy, maybe 14, had wandered a few steps into the bush to urinate. His scream ended abruptly, cut off like a snapped rope. They ran toward the sound with flashlights. The beam revealed drag marks in the soil, and footprints that did not belong to any animal Tava had ever seen, long, deep, with too many toes. The old man began to cry. It has started, he whispered. The forest is hungry again. Against reason, against fear, they followed. 5 men entered the forest. Only 2 would come out. Inside, the trees grew closer together, their backs sleek and warm to the touch. Faces seemed to form and dissolve in the wood, eyes opening, mouth stretching in silent screams. Tava's chest tightened. He heard whispers, not in Tiv. Not in English, but he understood them. Teacher, son, liar, you remember us. A hand brushed his shoulder. He turned, and saw a woman standing barefoot among the roots. Her neck was bent at an impossible angle. Her eyes were white. Her mouth was filled with soil. My name, she croaked. Do you remember my name? Before he could answer, roots burst from the ground and dragged her backward, snapping bones like dry sticks. One of the men ran. The forest swallowed him whole, trees bent inward, back splitting open like wet flesh, and closed again. No sound followed. When Tava emerged from the forest, dawn was breaking. The bus was gone, the road was gone, only trees remained, and behind him, carved freshly into the bark of a massive Iroko tree, was a single word written in blood, Tava. The forest had learned his name, and now, it would never forget him. Tava Oshahemba did not sleep. He stood where the road should have been, staring at the carved Iroko tree, watching sap ooze slowly from the letters of his name as if the tree itself were bleeding. The forest was silent now, but not empty. Silence here had weight. It pressed against his chest, made breathing feel like trespassing. When he finally turned around, the world behind him was no longer the world he knew. There was no sky. Above him stretched a canopy so thick it swallowed the morning light whole. The air glowed dimly green, like lights filtered through deep water. Every sound echoed twice, once when it happened, And again a heartbeat later, distorted, mocking, Tava began to walk. He did not know where he was going. He only knew that standing still felt dangerous, as though the forest preferred motion, like a tongue tasting prey before swallowing. Roots shifted beneath his feet, not growing, moving. Hours, or what felt like hours, passed before he saw signs of human life. A shrine. It stood in a small clearing, surrounded by dead grass and blackened stones. At its center lay a broken clay pot filled with dried blood and feathers. Skulls, human, were arranged in a semicircle, their jaws wired shut with rusted metal. Tava's stomach turned. He recognized the markings etched into the shrine, thief symbols, old ones, forbidden ones. His grandmother had once spoken of them before his father silenced her. "Do not speak of the forest gods," he had said. They listen, a voice spoke behind him. "You should not read what is meant to be forgotten." Tava spun around. A man stood at the edge of the clearing, tall, lean, dressed in torn hunter's clothing. His hair was gray, but his face looked strangely unfinished, like a mask that had not set properly. "Who are you?" Tava demanded. The man smiled. "I was many things," he said. "A son. A brother. A name." A chill crawled down Tava's spine. "What is your name?" The man's smile faltered. "I don't remember." They walked together. The nameless man moved easily through the forest, stepping where roots parted willingly. Birds avoided him. Insects went quiet when he passed. "You are marked," the man said after a while. Tava stiffened. "Marked how?" "The forest wrote you down," he replied. "Once it knows your name, it knows your story. Your lies. Your fears. Your blood." Tava remembered the tree. "My name is just a word," he said weakly. The man stopped walking. "No," he said softly. "Your name is a door." The forest groaned, trees bent inward, forming an arch ahead of them. Beneath it lay bones, fresh, cracked, gnawed. "People think the forest eats flesh," the man continued. "But flesh is easy. What it wants is identity. When it takes your name, you fade. Your family forgets you. Your face blurs in photographs. Even your ancestors stop calling you in dreams." Tava's mouth went dry. "And you?" he asked. The man looked at his hands. "I was taken 40 years ago. I remain because I resisted forgetting. Because I remembered pain." They reached a river. Its water was dark and slow, reflecting no light. Faces drifted beneath the surface, hundreds of them, eyes open, mouths screaming silently. Tava staggered back. "What is this place?" The man knelt and dipped his fingers into the river. The water hissed like hot oil. "This is Itio Eondo," he said. "The God River. It feeds the forest." Tava watched as one of the faces surfaced, a woman with braided hair, her eyes swollen shut. He recognized her. "Ontimka," he whispered. She had disappeared when he was 8. Her mouth opened. "Tava." Hands burst from the river, clawing at the banks. The forest roared. "Run!" The nameless man shouted. They ran as the river rose behind them, swelling unnaturally, flooding the forest floor. The faces screamed now, audible, deafening. Trees uprooted themselves to block their path, branches whipped like lashes. Tava tripped and fell hard. Something grabbed his ankle, not a hand, a root, wrapped tightly around his leg, pulsing like a vein. The forest spoke, not in whispers now, but in a chorus of voices. "You belong to us. Your name is ripe. Give it willingly." Tava screamed as the root began pulling him backward. The nameless man hacked at it with a rusted machete, black sap spraying like blood. "Say your name." The man shouted. "Say it loud. Anchor yourself." "Tava," he cried. "My name is Tava Oshahemba." The forest shrieked, the root recoiled, silence fell again, heavy, furious silence.